Praise the Lord. I am Pastor J.B. Norman Jr., and this is my lovely wife, First Lady Lawrence G. Norman, and we are from the Rivers of Living Water Faith Church, inviting you to one of our powerful packed services, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. and Sunday morning at 11 a.m., 309 J.B. Norman Jr. Drive. Always remember, we love you and God loves you too. Praise the Lord. I am J.B. Norman Jr. We want you to stay tuned. Do not turn your dial.
I think as men, God called us to empower the woman first. We got to follow God first, then empower you. God calls us to build, cultivate, and rule. Not in the sense of being dominating, but I'm supposed to build you, because then you'll turn around and me and you could come together and do something powerful. I had one of my great friends, I'm pretty sure some of you guys saw me on Facebook and Instagram. I have a great friend, celebrity friend. And he had a men's empowerment breakfast Monday. And he said something so powerful. He said, if you want to lead, man, your woman can't look face to face with you. She needs to look up, because you got to be the strength. So if you want your woman to follow you and lead you, be the man. If it takes you working at McDonald's 2-3 days a week, go do that. Don't put it all on her. You see what I'm saying? My dad always told us and taught us to never blame and put fault on other people. Always look to God. Look at your circumstances as a way to use your faith to demonstrate God in the earth. He always put that in us. He always told me and my brothers to be the man we supposed to be. Stand up. And I can say my dad is a testimony. What should be in the Ebony magazine, what should be in the media, is what my father has, the prototype he's developing myself and my siblings. I'm not just saying this because this is my daddy. I know. My dad has been a strong pillar in this community. He's done a lot of things here in Birmingham, Alabama, and abroad that sometimes he doesn't get the credit for. But he's so humble, man. And I learned from his humility to always don't try to pump yourself up, but let God pump you. I learned that from my daddy. My dad always taught me and my siblings to keep our individuality. Because you'll find out, people. Let me say something to you. This is a nugget. A lot of times you'll find a lot of people don't have a great sense of self-love or self-respect. So a lot of times people will try to project their insecurities or their boundaries over you. So my dad always used to tell us, look, you're different. Find your difference. Be a trendsetter. You're a Norman. Don't bow to everybody else's perspective. Find you. And how you find you find God first. I seen the influence of having a father in the home in terms of how I deal with my finances, how I deal with women in dating, how I deal with keeping my household, how I maintain things. Because previously, I can be honest, can I say this? It took me a while to grow up a little bit. Hey, I'm gonna be honest. I made some bad choices. I mean, some poor choices financially. And again, I'm not blaming anybody. I remember going to school, coming from Birmingham, Alabama, and Atlanta. It's two type of different worlds. My mother and father didn't shelter us because they allowed us to have a childhood per se. We hung out, we had fun. My father never tried to put us in these uptight bottleneck situations that we had to be this super perfect, squeaky clean. He didn't do any of that. So leaving from Birmingham, Alabama to Atlanta was somewhat, for me, I can be honest with you, it was a mind-blowing. It was a mind-blowing experience, man. Whew. Okay, my freshman year, I remember my cousin, he went to Morehouse College. And at the time, I wasn't making good grades. I was one of those juvenile justice kids. I didn't make the best grades. I was skipping school. I was the one who went to summer school. My brothers and sisters were the summa cum laude. I got on thank you, Lottie. I'm serious. I'm not going to lie to you. I just could not get my lesson, man. And being a teenager or what have you, somewhat, you're hyper, you're trying to find yourself. Your peer group has the number one influence on you in that time period of your life. So I remember my cousin came to Birmingham. I guess, I don't know who talked to him, but at the time he brought me to Atlanta, Georgia. He served as a mentor at that point. And my father, I'm gonna tell you what my daddy did, then I'll go back to that. I remember I was making these bad grades, I was cutting up, I was wilding, right? He goes, look, son, I think I've told you guys this story a few times. He goes, son, listen, I'm going to, he had a Corvette at the time, so you know what I mean, he was shining, whatever. And he took me through the city of Birmingham, he took me through the metro areas, the hoods. He's like, yo, son, what you wanna do, man? You know what I mean? I can't keep taking care of you. You know, I love you, but you got to do something, son. What you gonna do? And from that point on, I said, you know what? It's something clicked in me. I said, you know what? I got to do something different. And let me tell you guys, if you want something different, you got to do something you never did. You can't keep repeating the same thing and expecting different results. So my freshman year, this is where the things kind of got real murky. Okay, I got to Morris Brown College as a freshman. I saw all them pretty girls. Just the city was just different. Atlanta is a materialistic city. It's the land of the perpetrator. I'm gonna be bold and say that. I've been there. I can say that because I was integrated into that society. Atlanta is a city where they don't care about titles. They don't care about who you are in terms of pedigree was, where you come from. You know what they driven by? What kind of car you got? That's right. What kind of fat wardrobe you're wearing? What kind of house you got? If you're rich or because in Atlanta it's a hub. There's a lot of people are doing well, but it's a hub where you got a lot of millionaires. And I remember being a freshman, sophomore in college. This was pressure, y'all. We used to see the Atlanta Hawks come through our campuses every day. Me and Raven will tell you. We saw the Atlanta Hawks, the Falcons players would come through. We had all the big time rappers of the United States would come to our yard. This was every week, almost, at one point. This was weekly. And us guys who were in school at that time, we felt pressure because all the pretty girls was, hey, the brothers like, I remember Too Short used to come up there in a Porsche drop top. And he would come around each campus and get the baddest chick on the yard. So here we brothers now, because men do everything for women. Trust me, y'all don't act like you don't. You dress up for them, you buy things just to please them. Okay, so us freshmen, we in the campus, we in the dorm room eating ramen noodles. The girls were stunning us. We had a dream, but we was working towards. These guys had already made it. So I won't ever forget this. I remember when Mace, y'all remember the rapper Mace? It was kind of ill at that time, my sophomore year. He went to school at Clark Atlanta. Raven was attending there. when he got the big deal from Puff, you remember he decided, he said he didn't want to rhyme no more. And, you know, he found God, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So I remember he came, he had got like $10 million from Puff. He had left Bad Boy and came and went to school with us. That was crazy, yeah. And he was riding every week. He had a different car. He had a Ferrari. He had a Porsche. He had, I mean, every week it was just a different car. Rolls Royce. This guy was riding around our campus with that. So, to say this, I'm not bragging or nothing. I'm just saying this to say this. With that kind of pressure, if you don't know who you are, you'll think you're inadequate because you don't have those things. So, let's go to Darius. I started trying to live above my means. I remember my mother and father sacrificed, and to this day it still bothers me, because they gave up their Lexus for me and Raven, which they should have had themselves. But they sacrificed. We didn't really have the maturity to really keep it though. As I look hindsight now, we didn't. But they did it just, my father and mother did it out of love. They wanted us to have the best. But it sent me down to a downward spiral in terms of how I should deal with my finances. And so going forward, I just started making stupid choices. I felt like I had to buy this type of wardrobe, or I had to look this way because I thought maybe this is going to attract the right type of people in my life. But it didn't. It sent me downward spiral in debt, collectors calling me, debtors. I wasn't able to pay my student loans. I just made some silly choices. And going forward, I remember going to grad school and getting my master's or whatever, and I got a job with the Department of Juvenile Justice. And I remember how my daddy would, because before I left Birmingham to go to Atlanta, I kind of dressed juvenile. I had the earrings and, you know, just being a young man. And I remember my father said, well, Darius, when you go to college, you're going to change. You're not going to dress the same. You're going to evolve as a man. I took it upon myself after my daddy taught me how to groom myself. He taught me about the importance of hygiene, how you should conduct yourself in the public, how you should keep peppermint in your mouth, mouthwash, flossing, getting the right type of cologne to fit your body chemistry. Now, man, I know us men, God created us to be wild. We wake up musty, dirty socks sometimes. I'm guilty sometimes, you know. But you have to groom yourself. And I remember going to DJJ, and I had made my mind up, because I remember how my daddy taught me. I had made my mind up, because it was a business casual setting where you could dress to go to work for business casual. But I said, no, I'm going to go to work every day in a bow tie or tie or a suit. And so I wanted to emulate that stuff to some of these young men. And to this day, I'm no longer with DJJ. But some of the young men that gave me the hardest time, they see me now and hug me. Mr. Norman, man, you used to be sharp, man. You know what I'm saying? Man, I appreciate you, bro. They come hug me, shake my hand. But it was all due to having that father in the household. Having my daddy to be an example for me, showing me the ropes. And even now, to this day, there are things I call my dad on and discuss with him about financially. You know, just dating, all that. You know, how to keep your house up. You know, I have these in-depth conversations with my father. Even, you know, the Bible says, a good man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. Okay? So, not only just money, but my father, I see him, he's leaving a legacy for us spiritually, as well as just a legacy overall. Wisdom, impacting your community. Let me tell you a story, how my mother and father keeps their neighborhood up, how they keep their lawns up, how they have designed their home. I've taken on that same thing with my house. Even my daddy teaches us to be spiritual. Always trust God. Always lean on God. And one thing he all instilled in me, and I know now, because I've experienced some things. Do you know God would allow things to be empty in your life? He caused everything to be empty so you won't worship him. You will always have a need for God. I don't care what kind of car, house you get. I don't care if you get the perfect mate. There's some things God is just going to allow to be avoid there with those things so you will need him. And I learned that from my father. And with that being said, he never encouraged, he always wants us to lean on God, lean on the Spirit of God to do a good job. And with him being a leader in our home, how he take care of my mother. You see, she's smiling, she's bubbly, she doesn't have a want in the world. You know what that is? That's coming from a man, a husband, a real man that's able to protect. A man's supposed to protect, not be domineering, but protect and provide security. And I saw my father do that. I saw my father pull my mother off her job. I saw him do it when her nerves was getting frazzled some, and she was dealing with those bad kids in the city of Birmingham. I saw my daddy step up to the plate and pull her off her job to protect her. See, that's what men have to do. We supposed to protect and provide security for our women. But I have to tell us brothers, in order for you to get that kind of woman, you got to go to God first, and then she'll lead. You lead, you follow God, then she'll follow you. And that's what he did for us, my daddy. So his leadership and him in storing some more things in me, right now I'm able to help people at my job. They have asked me to mentor some people that's on our team that's kind of struggling. And because it's from the leadership I learned from my father. I helped a young lady on my job. She bought a brand new, bigger home than I did. She bought a $200,000 house, brand new. I helped her and coached her through that. Set up with the realtor, walked her through the process, and she got a brand new house in 30 days. Okay. With me making some missteps financially, I decided to I was sharing a condo downtown Atlanta with a good friend of mine. Yeah, I ain't gonna say that. Yeah, but I couldn't afford it. And so I made a conscientious decision because my job role changed. So what I did, I made a strategic retreat, meaning I pulled myself away from all the trying to keep up an image. I went to a 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment, and people thought I was crazy. My parents were even, because I didn't want my father and mother to subject themselves to that. You know, they didn't create the bills, I did. I said, now, a lot of times people, it's not always good to help folks. You know why? Because you can't be God for them. They won't learn anything. And I felt like if my mother and father would have upheld me in that, I would have never got to the place I am now. I feel like my father and mother are getting up in years. They need to enjoy their sports and not worry about me. I had to grow up. So I took the distaste for a moment. I took some disappointments. I went to that 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment where I had a bed. Can I share this? And the bed was falling on me. Y'all wouldn't know that. I had to endure some distasteful elements, but I had to get real. And as a man, I can't, I'm a man now, and as my daddy imparted in us, I don't make excuses for my situations now. You know what I did? With a master's degree, I went and got me a part-time job at Dollar Tree. And I started paying off my debt. I didn't want to keep asking my parents for money. You see what I'm saying? I didn't want to keep robbing Peter to pay Paul. I had to grow up, and it made me grow as a man. I had to mature. So I got to a point where, like I said, I went to that 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. I lived in Rome, Georgia for a minute, and I didn't have any distractions. I seemed like God just hid me out for a little bit just to get a sense of self. So in that time period, I started working on my credit. I started looking at some things. And I actually worked with a credit repair company by the name of Lexington Law for a while. And I spent some money. But then as I started research, I was praying and just believing God and asking him to lead me. Some information started beginning to be unfolded for me. I started learning about some ways that you could repair your credit yourself, how to protect yourself as a consumer. You see what I'm saying? And in that 2-year experience, now I'm going to say this. When you believe in God and you're walking in a dream, sometimes God will allow you to look like a disappointment so he could protect you away from the folks that don't need to be around you. So that's where your faith got to come in at, because there are going to be people, because I endured this. Let me tell you something. I had people laughing at me. They were real cynical and condescending. They thought they were smart. And they was like, and there were people, and it was disappointing. But I knew God had told me to do some things. And that's where my faith had to stay in. Just keep fighting a good fight of faith. I didn't give. And these were the same people that were being cynical and condescending. They had the worst financial problems than I did, but they were giving me advice. They were trying to tell me how to work on my credit, but then they had went and rented some furniture from Aaron's, and the folks was calling me because they wasn't paying for it. But they were giving me advice. So that's what I'm going to be honest with you. You guys need to know God. You need a word from God, and you got to have faith. Okay, so as I was doing this, my father was coaching me through it. He didn't throw no money in anything. He coached me through this. He kept pumping faith in me every day. Because I was hesitant. I could have bought a house maybe a year ago, but I waited. He was like, son, come on, man, you got to go and do this. He encouraged me to and coached me to write this book. Because he was like, yo, this is your story. This is your journey of faith. You can help other people with this, son. And I remember walking this journey, and I was going out looking at homes and things of that nature. I remember when I closed on the house, I was just so torn up because I knew how far God brought me. It wasn't people's opinion. I had to turn my ears off to naysayers. It was just a word, and a tiny bit of faith that turned it around. And it was what my daddy taught me to do, is to believe God. Use your faith to get things to happen for you, step by step. So that's how I came up with this book called Rewriting Financial Rules, because it's a journey. It was my pathway to seeing God in a different way. I saw $40,000 worth of student loan debt get removed off my credit, wiped out. I went to closing. When I closed on my house, I only took $50 to closing. They gave me $7,500 to close. And I saw God. The money that I lost moving to Atlanta prematurely because of my bad choice, I lost about $10,000. Show you how God worked. I have $11,000 to $12,000 of equity in my house going in it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So God gave it back to me in my house. Okay. I saw where I had bad credit. I had a 527 credit score, you guys. Working the principles of God and then doing some things I needed to do now. Go and get a part-time job, paying off my debt. Learning some strategies, how to maneuver and use credit as a leverage for you. I went from a 527 to a 720. Okay. Not bragging. I'm bragging. I'm talking about the testimony of having a father in your household and putting the right stuff in you. I saw where I was able to buy a nicer car. Because my car that I had, the Mustang, the one I loved, I was paying $400 a month on that car and it wasn't worth it. But due to my bad credit, I had a 20% interest rate. So the car wasn't worth it. When God moved in a way where they wiped that debt out, I got the car I got now. You know how much my car note? $170 a month. So I'm saying this to say this, not bragging, not bragging. I'm saying to say this. When you got the right mentors in your life, when you got a father like I do, I'm fortunate. I'm blessed. I got a daddy in my life, man, that can impart spiritual wisdom in my life. It wouldn't have never happened if he wasn't here.
So we just thank Darius for, and this book is not trying to sell books. This is information. You don't write books to sell them. You write them to impart information. This is how he got out of debt, and a lot of his friends and things use these principles. Even Sister Norman and myself use one of these principles here, and to up our credit score. He told us to go and get a credit card. Or secure credit card where you put up this collateral and pay it off, not pay it off, but pay it down. We got it told us to get one for $300, pay it down to $50. And man, and keep it like that. And when we went back to the banker, we were discussing some things with the banker, went back to the banker, our credit score had shot up to 40, mine had went up to 40 points. With that one simple principle. Praise the Lord. I am Pastor J.B. Norman Jr., and this is my lovely wife, First Lady Lawrence G. Norman, and we are from the Rivers of Living Water Faith Church, inviting you to one of our powerful packed services, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. and Sunday morning at 11 a.m., 309 J.B. Norman Jr. Drive. Always remember, we love you and God love you too.